The water is still flowing, but the worst of it could be over for now. We've got an update from Salt Lake City officials.
Governor Cox and state agencies giving an update on this flooding season so far and why it might not be the same as 1983.
Flooding in Ogden so severe, officials say it's creating new channels of water. Coming up, we'll give you a first-hand look.
Well, we slowed the river flow with the cold front that's moved through the state will drop temperatures here as we look to start the weekend up, but then we warm up. What will it do to the flooding situation? I'll let you know.
It was the first presidentially declared disaster area in Utah. We take a look back 40 years later after a landslide wiped out the town of Thistle.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Homeowners in Salt Lake City can sleep a little easier tonight. The city is assuring them the runoff has dramatically decreased with the cooler temperatures.
That is some relief. Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree joins us live near Wasatch Hollow Preserve. Jenna, a completely different scene out there tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the water is still running pretty fast through Emigration Creek. 1700 South still closed between 1500 East and 1700 East. But after just huge efforts of volunteers to fill and place all these sandbags throughout the day, the worst of it is over for now.
I've literally been here like over 20 years and nothing like this ever.
Wasatch Hollow residents have been doing everything they can to prevent their homes from flooding.
Our first trip was 47 sandbags because our 10-year-old helped with that trip and she counted every one of them.
We probably got
100 on this one.
Neighbors from all over the city answered the call to help out Thursday. Dozens of volunteers helping to fill sandbags to redivert floodwaters.
That effort across the board is impressive and it just really makes you feel good about the city and grateful for all the people that we have here.
City officials say the flow of Emigration Creek has decreased by more than half since Wednesday night.
There's still a lot of water to come down, and this is probably just the beginning of our runoff season.
The city will be calling on volunteers again, not until the weekend on Saturday, to replenish those sandbags. There will be sandbagging events on the east side and the west side. There will be one at Sugar House Park and one at Rosewood Park. So starting at 9 a.m., volunteers can come out, help fill sandbags until all the sand is gone. And if there's any left over, there will be more sandbagging events on Sunday. And people can also pick up sandbags at both of these parks on Saturday as well. Reporting live in Salt Lake City, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News. Utah.
Jenna, thank you. With just a few days of warmer temperatures, we are already seeing impacts of this year's historic snowpack. Fox 13 News reporter Maithili Gubi shares what state officials say is being done to help.
As Governor Cox says, we're in uncharted waters.
This is a hell of a way to run a desert.
With rising temperatures, so are water levels.
From the prognostications that we thought we were going to be a little better off. Mid-70s is different, though, than 83 at the airport a couple days ago.
Forcing people out of their homes. A sinkhole in Kaysville, Emigration Creek flowing into homes in Salt Lake City, and creeks flowing through Ogden where roads should be.
You can never prevent all floods from happening.
Governor Cox says it's just the beginning of a flooding season that could last months. Now here in Mill Creek, the mayor announced a state of emergency to encourage people to help fill sandbags, not just for their own community, but stepping up for those around, like how they did for those impacted by the Emigration Creek flood. Now Governor Cox says they've sent over 1 million sandbags across the state to help places that need it.
The debris piece is really important. So just to lay that out, what happens is you have these tunnels, you have these culverts, and they're fine until a tree falls into the river and comes down and blocks that, right? And now the water can't get through there, so it goes up and around. And those are the things that the only way you can prevent that is to have people on standby to get heavy equipment there to pull it out as quickly as you can, and then to have people sandbagging. So what we have in place is working.
But officials don't believe these floods will be as severe as the ones in 1983.
When you look across the state, we've done quite a bit. We've improved culverts, we've improved infrastructure. We've built several new reservoirs. For example, we have Little Dell Reservoir and Jordanelle Reservoir, both on systems that flooded back in the 80s.
If you are near floodwaters, some words of caution.
So that people understand that those waters are cold, they're fast. And if you wade in them, play in them, step in them, you may get swept off your feet. And also, you don't know what debris or hazardous materials might be in those waterways. So we just want to make sure that first and foremost, everybody is being safe.
I'm Maithili Gubi reporting, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now new waterways are popping up in Ogden and threatening homes. Continuing our team coverage tonight, Fox 13 News reporter Lucy Nelson shows us how the rapidly melting snowpack is impacting neighborhoods near the Weber River.
The Weber River in full force, with never-ending water flowing over its banks and creating new pools and ponds.
It's unreal.
Angel Correa and his daughter Dahlia went to check out the Ogden River to see if it too had reached its breaking point.
I'm scared that we're gonna have to get a little boat and travel everywhere.
While Ogden is no stranger to flooding, Deputy Fire Chief Mike Slater says this week has brought unseen challenges.
We have new waterways being created, new creeks, new streams, because of the fast temperatures, the rising temperatures, and the fast melt within our city.
Here is video he took of a new waterway pushing through the East Bench on Tuesday.
It was a new flow path. It was a new water runoff that we weren't not expecting. So when we got that call, it kind of caught us a little bit off guard.
Kenny Miller with the Ogden Fire Department says first responders rapidly worked to divert the water so it didn't flow right into people's homes.
We're proactively watching for those things, both with manpower and also with drones, to be able to see if we can ascertain if there are some of those new creek systems that are going to be threatening property. But we need all the help that we can get from the public.
Ogden local Leah Schaefer says she's keeping an eye out for any water-related hazards.
A little worried about what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
She's been watching water levels and is ready to help out when the city needs volunteers.
Just need to all work together as communities and help out with sandbagging and make sure we alert people when we see sinkholes starting and things like that.
Ogden police say to keep an eye out for any new channels going down mountains from that snowpack. And if you do see any you've never seen before, make sure to contact authorities. In Ogden, Lucy Nelson, Fox 13 News, Utah.
We will continue to cover the flooding throughout the state, both on air and online. You can always find the latest updates on our website, fox13now.com.
After being closed for the better part of 2 weeks, UDOT says Little Cottonwood Canyon is finally back open tonight to all travel. UDOT says the weather was in their favor as crews worked all day to clear the road to make sure it was safe during this time of reduced avalanche danger. UDOT advises people to still be careful when they drive up and down the canyon and to watch for both avalanche debris and black ice as temperatures drop.
Yeah, Little Cottonwood Canyon has not had it easy over the past week. Yeah, avalanche danger, Breck. What level are we at right now?
Well, we were high, of course, leading up to today. We've been getting reports that the risk has been decreasing just a bit due to the cold front that has been moving in. We got hit this morning here across northern Utah. We got the cold and the snow, highlighting a video coming up on our Facebook page where Ruth highlighting where in North Ogden they picked up anywhere between 1.5 to 2.5 inches of snow. I know we don't want to see the snow, but what came along with it are these colder temperatures, and that has helped with the flooding situation. As those flood waters have been receding, a reprieve from the flood situation where that elevation of risk now dropping just a bit. Looking at today's high temperatures, where most of these temperatures here across northern Utah, we hit them this morning as we got up in the 50s here in Salt Lake City, but throughout the afternoon dropping down into the 30s. Where do we stand right now? We're at 41 degrees in Salt Lake City, upper 30s in Logan, currently 26 degrees in Park City. Northeastern Utah, we have low 40s where the front has been now moving through southeastern Utah. Those temperatures dropping there. Let's take a look at the temperature change over the past 24 hours. We've seen a 30-degree swing as we're going to keep temperatures cool for now. But we warm up through the weekend. What does that do to the flood situation and the avalanche concern? I'll let you know coming up.
All right, Breck, thanks so much. Utahns will not see the state flag referendum on the November ballot. What happened that has referendum organizers looking to the next step?
Tax day is coming, but maybe not as soon as you think. The reason for the extra few days this year and other tax tips to help you out.
Utah marks the 40th anniversary of the worst floods the state has ever seen, including a landslide that wiped out the town of Thistle.
The Lieutenant Governor's office says a referendum on the new Utah state flag has failed to collect enough signatures to get on the ballot in November. In a letter sent to the referendum sponsors and shared with Fox 13 News, clerks said they validated about 21,000 signatures and rejected about 2,000. An additional 28,000 signatures were submitted but have not yet been verified. The threshold to get on the ballot was more than 134,000 by yesterday.
In a perfect world, we'd have hit the numbers and it would be on the ballot. But we knew realistically, the way referendums are set up in this state, you have to pitch almost a perfect game to get one through. And so our goal was to get the conversation started and to move forward. So this part of the conversation's over. Now we'll move on to the next part.
Saunders tells me the next step is a resolution that will be put forward at the Utah GOP convention a week from Saturday, letting state leaders see how many people actually want change on the issue. He says Utah legislative leaders have agreed to continue to talk about it. Now, in response, State Senator Dan McKay, sponsor of the flag bill, says today, quote, "We can finally say that the procedural process of adopting the new flag is complete. As we turn this page in our history, I'm aware there are passionate feelings on both sides of this issue. With citizen input and an assist from the governor, we will preserve Utah's historic state flag and fix its place at Utah's capital so that our history lives on. Utah is stronger together, and I look forward to working together to that end."
Tax day, there is no escaping it, and it will be here soon, but don't worry if you've not yet filed, there's still time. I stopped by a tax clinic earlier this week for some tips to help you with your return. Inside the Salt Lake County Government Building on State Street,
I have been coming here for the last, I think, 8 years.
Jose Miguel Vigo is one of hundreds visiting the makeshift Westminster Tax Assistance Clinic.
We provide volunteers who are certified in various different areas of tax laws who do this free service for the community.
To be eligible for the free help, you must fall within one of these categories. Low to moderate income bracket of $60,000 a year or less. Persons with disabilities, the elderly, members of military services, veterans, members of Native American tribes, and limited English proficiency taxpayers. And for those who qualify, Jose Miguel says the no-cost help is priceless.
The people are very friendly, they know what they're doing, they make you feel comfortable.
If you are still working on your taxes individually, remember this year you have a couple of extra bonus days. Tax day, April 15th, falls on a Saturday. The following Monday, the 17th, is Emancipation Day. So for tax returns this year, the due date is Tuesday, April 18th. But if that still doesn't work for you, there is another option.
They should definitely file for an extension so they can get their taxes done by October of this year.
But don't forget, even an extension does not delay any balance you may owe.
That's a very common problem. People think that if I get an extension, I have 6 months to file and pay my taxes. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You have 6 months till October 16th to file your taxes, get your tax return completed and turned into the government, but your balance due is still due on April 18th.
You want to make sure you meet all the appropriate deadlines. There are some pretty harsh penalties if you don't. To find out more about the Westminster Tax Clinic, including days and times of their free service, go to westminstercollege.edu/tax clinic.
This new drought map was released today. More than 30% of the state has no drought status. A big jump from just under 10% a week ago. 34% of the state is considered abnormally dry, 27% is in the moderate drought category, and just 7% is in severe drought.
Well, it's been a couple of years of extremes, extreme drought, too extreme. Water that we've been seeing, of course, we've been having all the flooding issues here across northern Utah. Want to share another video coming in from one of our viewers on our Facebook page, Utah's Weather Authority, Toquerville Falls, as we look in southern Utah. Oh, that is flowing fast. A lot of water coming down. Of course, as we looked in southern Utah, highs over the past couple of days, not so much today, but again, a couple of days ago, we found temperatures near 90 degrees. Big cool down, though, initially for northern Utah, and then some of that colder air settling in across southern Utah, where today's high, 55 degrees, so below average. We were in the 80s, dropping down into the 70s. Now it's 50s. And throughout the afternoon, we found temperatures in the 30s and 40s here across northern Utah, where right now we're at 41 degrees. So give you a view from our Oquirrh Mountain camera. Saw just a few flurries. We've been seeing just a few clouds, a few light mountain showers remaining here as that cold front moving away, drier air settling in. But we're going to keep a cool northwesterly flow going for tomorrow. Now, this has been great news for the flood situation. I want to show you Emigration Creek. Of course, last night, big concerns. We had flood warnings in place. As we were leading up from yesterday, we reached that flood stage, seeing that water receding just a bit. We're good right now. What about moving forward? We know we've got that cool down, so no issues for tomorrow. We'll keep it that way. Then we get that warm up. We should be okay. Highs return to the 70s for a brief period of time here across northern Utah. Then another front moves through. That will allow that water to recede. So this is good news lining up. This is what we want to see. We didn't want to get these temperatures in the 80s, but moving up to the 70s, as long as it's briefly, we should be okay. But we know we've got bigger concerns moving ahead. We're just getting things going with the spring runoff. Some of the hottest temperatures and the accelerated spring runoff really starts hitting through the month of May. So we're definitely going to keep our eye. We'll have several stories focusing on the floods moving ahead. Now, cold front sweeping through eastern Utah. We've been holding on to some showers. Looks like Moab through Arches up through the Uinta Basin. That'll be the situation overnight. And then the storm pushes away where this cold front does move on. High pressure then builds in. We warm up. We keep the storms away until that next cold front, which looks to reach us by Tuesday. So the weekend looks to be nice. Cool tomorrow. We warm up, getting close to average on Saturday, then above average heading into Sunday and Monday. But it's going to be a chilly night here for tonight. We'll clear out for northern, central, western Utah. Look at these overnight temperatures near freezing. We're feeling that winter chill there here across northern Utah, where overnight lows getting down to the 20s and even teens in Park City. For tomorrow, yeah, we're holding on to temperatures well below average, 10 to 15 degrees below average, near 50 degrees for your highs, only 30s in Park City. Some clouds southeastern Utah, early morning hours, showers moving away, upper 60s in St. George. So again, we'll see that weekend warm up where we go from 70s to 80s. Keeping the rain away, that next cool front will drop temperatures, but you don't see a chance of showers with that next front, at least for southern Utah. Northern Utah, different story. Seeing some rain. Yes, rain Tuesday through Wednesday. We'll see those temperatures drop out, which will help the flood situation, as we'll see a couple of days above average with low, or highs, I should say, in the 70s.
All right, Breck, looking good. Thanks so much. As Utahns deal with flooding, exactly 40 years ago, it was much, much worse. On April 13th, 1983, a landslide wiped out the town of Thistle, that's in Spanish Fork Canyon. We're going to take a look back on that day and its lasting impacts. Still to come.
And the former best friend of Lori Vallow Daybell takes the witness stand today. We have an update on this high-profile murder trial from Boise when we come back.
Today on day 4 of testimony in the Lori Vallow Daybell murder trial in Idaho, Lori's former best friend, Melanie Gibb from Arizona, took the witness stand.
She described to prosecutors the nature of her relationship with Lori and how it took a downward spiral. Don Nelson from our sister station KIVI has more from Boise.
Melanie talked about how she and Lori met Chad Daybell at a conference in St. George, Utah, and how Lori and Chad's friendship soon turned into a relationship. Both were married at the time. Today's testimony involved a 21-minute taped conversation between Melanie, Lori, and Chad that Melanie recorded.
Hello, sweet Melanie.
The conversation starts very cordially.
I want to know, you remember we talked about JJ going to Kay's house? And you told me they went there, and now he's not there. I was wondering what happened.
Well, I had to move him somewhere else because of
her actions.
At one point, Melanie didn't like the fact that both of their spouses are dead. Chad then mentioned that his deceased wife, Tammy, had health issues.
My sister-in-law's right behind it all, and I hope that you're not being influenced by that dark team.
I don't know who she is. I'm sorry, you said your sister-in-law? I don't even know her.
Oh, I know, but she's coming up with the same type of theories. And it's just not true. My own children were there. They testified that Tammy had been getting weaker and sick, and I begged her to go to the doctor.
The conversation escalated and got a little heated when Melanie told Lori she was tricked by Satan.
I believe that you have been very deceived by Satan. I believe that he has tricked you. And I don't believe that what you're doing is correct. I just don't. I mean, Tammy dies, and then your husband died, and then he's missing. It just doesn't sound like God's plan to me.
You know me, Mel. You know me. This does not sound like you. This sounds like you've been influenced by somebody dark who wants you to believe dark things and have fear of the celestial world.
I don't have fear.
You obviously do.
No, I have a peace of conscience, and I can see clearly.
From Arizona to Idaho, the defense kept going back and forth on the timeline. Questioned Gibb about the recorded phone call, asked why she recorded the call. Gibb described it as self-serving and didn't want to be falsely accused of anything. She wanted to know where JJ was. Gibb told the defense when she saw Lori's brother, Alex Cox, in Idaho, she asked where JJ was, and Alex said, "You don't want to know." The next witness called had more to say about Lori's brother. Chandler, Arizona lead detective Nathan Duncan responded to the 911 call from Alex Cox that he shot his brother-in-law, Charles Vallow, Lori's husband, twice in self-defense. He walked into the living room and saw Charles on his back with a gunshot to the stomach, and later found another wound to his upper left back. A shooting both Alex and Lori claimed was in self-defense. In an unexpected move at the start of the defense cross-examination, the defense asked the judge to strike all of Melanie's testimony because she spoke to prosecutors. Judge Boyce dismissed the jury and explained why he would deny the motion, citing case law. At the Ada County Courthouse, I'm Don Nelson, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Historic winter weather in 1983 caused a landslide that ultimately flooded out the town of Thistle. We spoke with officials who look back 40 years later.
A big name in Utah politics is considering a run for Senate, challenging Mitt Romney.
Welcome back, everyone. It has now been 40 years since a massive landslide was triggered in Spanish Fork Canyon, destroying the complete town of Thistle.
Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold spoke with state historians in a look back on that incident on this day in April of 1983. He joins us in studio tonight with this in-depth report. Chris.
Well, yeah, Bob Kelly, the tiny railroad town of Thistle was established back in 1878, and at its peak in 1920, more than 400 people lived there. Now, that number was down to 50 residents at the time the flood took place in 1983, all of whom were forced to evacuate their homes, never returning to the little town they once called home. This is all that remains in the town of Thistle in Spanish Fork Canyon. Just a few foundations of structures, a telephone pole, and even this house, where only the roof can be seen above the water, 40 years after a flood destroyed a town that had stood here for more than 100 years.
If you go up the canyon, you can see roofs of old houses still perched on the hillsides.
Bill Keach, the Utah Geological Survey director, was an undergraduate student at BYU in April of 1983.
He came up here and actually watched the slide.
He vividly remembers the massive landslide that was triggered near where Highways 6 and 89 intersect in Utah County. The state had dealt with record snowfall coupled with heavy rains and a fast-melting snowpack.
If you see this kind of light-colored ridge with snow on the right side and steep rock on the left, and you look down to the bottom where it's got a steep slope and then it flattens out, that is the slide.
That moisture causing the mud from the slide to take out the railroad.
The economic impact was huge. For the railroad, they were losing $1 million a day.
The railroad had frantically built tunnels in order to get to the east and to Denver. It blocked off everything from Salt Lake City to Denver.
And spill across the highway. Keach says the slide was moving about 3.5 feet per hour.
It was moving pretty good. Created a dam here about 200 feet high as it buttressed up against. And it formed a big old lake behind. I think it got to 160 feet deep.
The landslide resulted in the first ever presidentially declared disaster area in the Beehive State.
Some people say to this day it's still the largest economic disaster or economic problem due to a natural disaster in the country.
It's between $250 and $400 million in damages, which today in 2023 would be about $750 million.
Brad Westwood is the senior public historian with the Utah Department of Culture and Community Engagement. Before the floodwaters destroyed the town, Westwood says Thistle was a small, tight-knit railroad community.
There were a few people who were kind of holdouts from when it was a juncture town for the railroad. By the 1970s, it was largely private homes that were in a little well of trees adjacent to the highway.
He says residents were given enough time, anywhere from 24 to 48 hours, to get out before the floodwaters engulfed the town.
There are stories of people who pretty much lost everything and others who are able to at least get their personal effects and some of their, nicer things in cars and trucks before it all happened.
Those residents left and never returned. Thistle ultimately became one of Utah's many ghost towns.
I call it the Thistle Monument, and it's like its own little organic monument for the last 40 years.
For those who witnessed the slide, like Keach, he spoke about what sticks with him 40 years later.
The resiliency of the people is an impressive lesson for me, and the ingenuity of the folks that deal with the disasters probably is the other thing that stays with me.
Well, it's worth noting that despite the damage left behind, Westwood tells me, with the amount of time people were told to evacuate, no residents of the town of Thistle died due to the landslide. In studio, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Oh, what a look back. Wow. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
A big name in Utah politics is considering a run for U.S. Senate. House Speaker Brad Wilson says he's now considering running for the seat currently held by Utah Senator Mitt Romney.
Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow broke the story and asked Speaker Wilson why he's considering a run now.
I understand this state in a way that's very unique.
House Speaker Brad Wilson has opened an exploratory committee. It allows him to fundraise as he considers a Senate run.
I'm going to make a decision over the course of the next few months as I go around the state and listen to what people are looking for. What I believe is in the best interest of the state of Utah and what's in the best interest of my family.
But the speaker tells me he believes his work in the Utah State Legislature would translate to Washington, D.C.
In fact, Washington needs to be a lot more like Utah. And we've got an opportunity to send Utah values back to D.C. And we need to make sure that we have a conservative fighter back there to make Washington a lot more like Utah.
Senator Romney has opened his own exploratory committee, but hasn't committed to running for re-election. He's faced criticism from some quarters of the Republican Party for his votes on President Trump's impeachments and crossing the aisle to back other legislation. Speaker Wilson declined to critique Senator Romney's record in the Senate. He also isn't weighing in on who he would support on the Republican ticket for president, except to say he'll do what he's done previously, vote for the Republican nominee.
There will be a time once we know who is running for president and we have all the declared candidates to weigh in on that. I think it's premature to make that decision. My focus right now is what's in the best interest of the state of Utah in terms of the U.S. Senate.
Speaker Wilson could be a formidable name in the Senate race. He's enjoyed outsized influence on state policy from Utah's Capitol Hill and won bipartisan praise for his work on saving the Great Salt Lake.
One of the skills that I think I bring to the table is the ability to get a lot of people with very differing opinions together and get them to work together on hard things and solve hard challenges. And if there's a place in the world that needs that skill set, it is Washington, D.C.
While his exploratory committee is still open, Speaker Wilson will still be in charge here on Utah's Capitol Hill. He says he'll make a formal decision later this year. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now, if the election were held today, who would you vote for? Senator Mitt Romney or Utah House Speaker Brad Wilson? If you'd like to weigh in, just scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you to fox13now.com/voice. The results of this non-scientific poll are in real time.
Well, coming up, what does Governor Cox think about the push to bring a Major League Baseball team to Salt Lake City and the potential use of tax dollars for the stadium?
And this year's Rich States, Poor States Economic Outlook Index is out. How Utah fared.
Now with the possibility of a Major League Baseball team coming to Utah and a stadium being built in Salt Lake City, there are plenty of questions about who would pay for it. The Larry H. Miller Group is among those trying to lure a professional baseball team with a new development on North Temple. At a news conference on Utah's Capitol Hill, Fox 13 News asked Governor Spencer Cox if tax dollars should be spent to help fund a stadium.
I don't think taxpayers should subsidize billionaires, and I've felt that for a long time. I don't think that's strong economic policy. I don't think that's good for taxpayers, especially when most of the benefits for something like that accrue directly to the franchise owners.
Governor Cox says tax increment financing might be used on the local level, but he is not supportive of the state kicking in money to build someone else's stadium.
Utah has achieved a top ranking for its economy. The American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC for short, ranked Utah #1 for economic outlook on its Rich States, Poor States Index. The conservative group's rankings were hailed by Governor Cox, House Speaker Brad Wilson, and Senate President Stuart Adams today.
Utah not only has the best economic outlook, we have the best economy. We have the best, we're the best state for the middle class. We have one of the best ratings for upward mobility. We just experienced our lowest unemployment rate in the history.
Adams hinted that the state may enact more tax cuts next year.
Coming up next, talk about a star-studded ribbon cutting. Hey, that guy looks familiar. You're going to hear from musician Post Malone about the Raising Cane's he designed in Midvale.
And as we go to break, sharing a photo coming up on our Facebook page where we saw snow in the north, but in the south we saw a rainbow with some rain. Symbol of receding flood waters and a break as we've been slowing the flow. But how does it look over the next 7 days? We'll take a look at your temperatures coming up.
What a night for the Red Rocks. The Utah gymnastics team put up big scores in the NCAA semifinal tonight, led by Miley O'Keefe. Could she score another perfect 10 and win another national championship? The highlights are on the way.
Well, no doubt you've been hearing about it all week. A Raising Cane's designed by Utah resident and superstar Post Malone.
There it is. You can't miss it if you drive by. Today, Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph was in Midvale as hundreds of people watched the ribbon cutting. In fact, Spencer got a tour of the restaurant from the designer himself. Check this out.
A cold, rainy, snowy Utah day didn't stop this crowd. Gathering with phones and albums in hand.
You hoping to meet him?
Yeah.
Just wanted to see him.
To meet the one and only.
Oh, it's great. Nothing happens in Utah until Post Malone came here.
Post Malone.
Like, super exciting having a celebrity here, but like somebody so chill like Posty.
Some, like Mason and Zoe, have been waiting all night.
Yeah, they had it fenced out and we were waiting to see if we could get a glimpse of him.
And a glimpse they got. Yes, but for the crowd, it was well worth it.
I'm terrified, and I never have spoken through a megaphone before. And I hope everybody's. Thank you very much.
Post alongside CEO of Raising Cane's, Todd Graves.
This is my boss.
He's the same guy before he got to become this superstar. Humble, kind, hardworking, good to people, and I'm just really proud of my friend.
Posty, of course, is Utah's most famous resident, which is why when he asked for a Raising Cane's near his house, the company delivered.
And we built it, and then he said, hey, Todd, can I design it? Can I do a remodel? And this is his vision, this Raising Cane's.
The outside, bright pink and designs all over, complete with a custom-designed truck and, of course, the license plate, Posty. Inside,
So as you can see, pretty sick, right?
Todd and Post took us on a tour.
We said, let's do it amazing. You know, I said, Ben, just go nuts, do whatever you want to do. There isn't a budget. Let's have at it.
It's a really cool restaurant. We put some armor in there, some old stinky outfits that I wore on tour and for events. And
they still have the musk on them, and they're still 100% collector's edition.
Some guitars and such, and there's a ping pong pneumatic device.
This is the most advanced ping pong ball pneumatic device in the world.
Wacky and out of this world design, but if you come, you gotta get the meal the way he does.
It's a 10 gulps out of 10. Yeah, hit me. Confirm. Yeah, and cool thing about cups is you can put actually whatever you want in them. Thank you guys for coming.
Back outside, fans waited to get their turn at a selfie. And remember Mason and Zoe? Well, all that waiting was well worth it.
He autographed my arm, so
He autographed your arm?
I'm gonna go get it tattooed later today.
Permanent, like this staple of the Midvale community, celebrating a Utah icon in the tastiest way possible.
I love you too.
Spencer Joseph.
America's sweetheart, so, you know.
Fox 13 News.
He's got a new slogan for Fox 13. What is it?
Stay foxy.
Utah.
That is
I mean,
great.
it totally works.
That's
Stay
right.
foxy.
That's right. In San Diego, it's stay classy, but here in Salt Lake,
it's
Stay foxy.
That's right.
Just gotta put this out here. Tens of thousands of you are liking and commenting about the Pink Restaurant in Posty on our Fox 13 Utah TikTok page.
Tens of thousands of you.
Head over to our Twitter, Facebook, or TikTok pages to weigh in if you want to see more of Post Malone from earlier today. I like what he did with the place. I
You
have
do?
one little suggestion, though.
Okay.
The Ford truck that will be permanently out front, that
Yeah.
classic Ford truck.
Yep.
Okay, I like Posty on the license plate, but it's a Texas license plate. It's got to be a Utah
There you go.
license
There
plate.
you go. Good
He's
suggestion,
a Utah
Cal.
staple.
Yeah.
That's right.
The Utah snow.
The Utah Snow,
License plate.
750 Lambo in the Utah Snow. That's how he travels there to get to Raising Cane's. You need to travel with the coat this morning. It was chilly, cold front sweeping in, and we did get that Utah snow here across portions of northern Utah. Not a lot, thank goodness, but again, that cold front dropping temperatures helping out with the flooding situation that we've been experiencing here over the past couple of days. Currently at 41 degrees, partly cloudy skies here in Salt Lake City. We're going to be clearing out in the overnight hours. And speaking of temperatures, we need to look long range because good situation here across northern Utah. We look from the Climate Prediction Center next 6 to 10 days, leaning towards average to below average temperatures throughout northern Utah. That's where we've seen some big flooding concerns, but we've also seen some flooding across southern Utah. You're actually looking at above average temperatures as we move ahead. Now, we're getting a break from the storms. As we move through the weekend, we don't see much of a shower threat up until late Monday into Tuesday. Our next cold front will be pushing through. Good news is it's not going to bring snow or a wintry mix, but it will drop temperatures as we're going to get a warm up heading in for the weekend. Now, for St. George, flat line, really no chance of any rain for the weekend. And with that next cold front, as we've been seeing with this cold front, you'll see some clouds and some winds, and that's about it. Now, we're still holding on to some showers north of St. George up through Cedar City, pushing through Beaver. We've actually been seeing some snow in between Cedar City and Beaver. That's moving on. The focus turning towards southeastern Utah. This is definitely a zone where overnight we'll continue to see some rain showers, maybe even an isolated thunderstorm, and the possibility of some showers tomorrow morning through early afternoon from Moab down through Blanding. And then finally that front moves on where high pressure builds in for the weekend. That's why we're going to be warming things up. But let's take a look at what will be taking place where, yeah, we want to warm up just a bit, but not too much and not have an extended period of very warm temperatures like we saw this past week. This next high pressure, as it does move in, it's not as strong. We don't see that big ridge, so we will not be pushing towards the 80s here across northern Utah. For a couple of days, though, it's low 70s before this next trough of low pressure and cooler air settles in for Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, hour by hour forecast for tomorrow morning. We'll see some clouds in place. It's going to be a cold start. Temperatures near freezing, warming up to the 40s by 9 a.m. Highs only in the 50s here in Salt Lake City. Upper 40s in Provo, only 40s in Logan. So we're going to be looking at temperatures anywhere between 10 to 15 degrees below average. Again, southeastern Utah, still some rain, maybe an isolated thunderstorm. and then drying out and clearing out for the weekend, where for St. George, it's only 60s with mostly sunny skies throughout the weekend. A few clouds Sunday and Monday. We see 80s and then dropping down with that next cool front down into the 70s as we go from Tuesday through Wednesday and Thursday. Northern Utah, 50s to 70s, and then we see the rain, cooler temperatures. This is good news. So not seeing that warm trend for too long, but we'll cool things off and see a little bit of rain on Tuesday.
The Utah gymnastics team, the only team in the country to qualify for all 47 national championships. The Red Rocks competing in semifinal number 2 tonight in Fort Worth, Texas. The Utes started on the floor, and that's where Miley O'Keefe began her big night. She tied for second place with a score of 9.950. The Utes were third going into the third rotation, but they were fantastic on the bars. Grace McCallum competed for the first time since February 11th, and she came through on the bars, sticking her landing. McCallum and O'Keefe tied for second with 9.50s, and the Utes had 3 more scores over 9.9 to move into second place. The Utes ended on the beam, their best event, ranked number 1 in the country, and they showed it. Crystal Issa tied for second with a 9.9625. And then it's Miley O'Keefe, the beam queen, sticks another landing and received a perfect 10. Her 5th perfect 10 this season to finish first in the beam to win the individual national championship. She also won the national title in the all-around for her 4th career individual national championship and moved into first. The Utes moved into first place. She scored that perfect 10 moments after UCLA's Jordan Childs scored a 10 to win the all-around. Utah pulled ahead of Oklahoma to win the semifinal with a score of 198-225 to advance to Saturday's final.
It's hard to be good at all 4 events, and that's why it's so accredited to be an NCAA all-around champion, and I think that's just really cool. I figured since the crowd was getting really loud, something amazing happened, and I think it's really cool to get a 10 at nationals, and I'm proud of Jordan for that, and I think it's just an amazing accomplishment that we get to share with everybody.
Will Hardy proved he can coach in the NBA this season, leading an ever-changing group of players to 37 wins this season. The Jazz have found some solid players to build around, and with money to spend and 3 first-round draft picks, the Jazz feel they can get a lot better this offseason.
We are trying to continue to build this program and team into a something that's contending for championships. This offseason is the next stepping stone. I think we had a good season. We learned a lot this year. Some guys had tremendous individual growth. We figured out a few things, as a program in terms of what we want to be about. Here we are with a couple of months in this off season to try to figure out ways to get better. So, as a group, myself, Danny, Justin, Ryan, that's the only thing on our mind right now is how do we get better?
Yeah, it should be a fun summer. And how about the Red Rocks?
Oh, my goodness.
Girls, we're on tonight.
They're on fire.
They were in 3rd place and looked like they might not make it to the finals. And those last 2 events, they just killed it. Miley O'Keefe, unbelievable.
Way to go.
The whole team.
Whole team, fantastic.
I can't wait till Saturday.
Saturday, big day.
That's why we're wearing red today, by the way. Supporting the Red Rocks. We'll be right back.
Oh, happy moment here. A man who set out to travel the country has finally taken the last step of his journey. We showed you Kendall Ray's story back in March, where he crossed from coast to coast, a la Forrest Gump, to bring awareness to mental health and addiction recovery. Now, Ray has struggled with those things as well and used his walk to share his experience with others. At the end, Ray walked, get this, 3,292 miles.
Wow, that's a lot of steps. Congratulations. Finally, we want to show you this. It was a dream come true for a boy beating the odds, all thanks to Make-A-Wish Utah and America First Credit Union. 7-year-old Logan, there he is. He's in remission from leukemia. He received pieces to a puzzle as he explored behind the scenes of Lagoon and the redesigned Logan Land. When put together, the puzzle revealed that Logan won a trip to Walt Disney World.
That is wonderful.
Have a great time, Logan. Proud of you.
Quick Cast up next.